Yo, what's going on with it? Welcome to Worldwide Classics. I'm your host, Southside Tre, and if you're a true fan of professional wrestling like me, then that's exactly where you need to be at. And with that being said, WrestleMania this weekend in a couple of days. So, as promised, we're going to sit here today and we're going to go over a fantasy booking. Because if you tuned in to episode 1, then you know I'm not too thrilled about this year's WrestleMania. And again, I keep giving a disclaimer. I'm not trying to throw no smoke, not trying to throw no shade, not trying to throw people under the bus. But however it came together, this year is just kind of underwhelming for WrestleMania for myself, a true fan, who's been watching it for almost 30 years. But again, I touched on that in the last episode. So today we just gonna jump straight into it. This fantasy booking, Worldwide Classics. I'm Southside Tre. And if you're a fan of professional wrestling, then that's exactly where you need to be at. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Y'all gotta excuse me for getting my notes. I usually just freestyle, you know what I mean? I usually just cut the camera on and just go off the top of the head and just say what I feel. But today, I just wrote this card down because, like I said, I haven't really been watching, so I had to really do a little research and see who's on the roster, things of that nature. So I needed to write some notes, basically, so y'all bear with me. Appreciate you. So I'm going to go ahead and start it off with the tag team because really, I don't really get into the tag team or the women's wrestling. So let me just throw that out there right now. And I hate that it's like that. So, shout out to the women, shout out to the tag teams. But the way that the company has booked tag team wrestling and a lot of the women's matches, it's a lot to work on. So again, I'm a true fan. I'm just gonna say it how it is, and hopefully it don't fall on deaf ears. We could do something about that, because as we see the tag team division, slowly but surely, we're starting to acquire some people. We're starting to acquire some talent where we might have a chance at breathing some life into the tag team division. Getting Penta and then now getting Ray Phoenix. So eventually, I guess we could say the Lucha Brothers will be back together at some point, potentially. I know that they signed the Motor City Machine Guns. I haven't really tuned in to the match they had or the matches they had, but I know we got them a part of the team too. So I see potential. One thing that's crazy about it is not to try to go to other companies right now or other promotions, but to just go over to AEW for a second. When they first started, I was impressed with their tag team division. I was impressed by how serious they took it. They had great talent, and you were starting to just see what it was like to have actual teams. Because I feel like in WWE, they're guilty of just putting people together. And I guess that's okay sometimes, maybe. But usually they just throw people together, and it's rare that we see a real tag team. Recently, the Creed brothers have been showing the world what they're capable of. I've been watching and been a fan of those guys since NXT. So shout out to the Creed brothers. I expect great things from them moving forward. So again, slowly but surely, I'm seeing a little growth in the tag team division. But as of right now, all I'm gonna say is I think the New Day is in the match, and I think the tag team division is just real light right now. And I really feel like Street Profits and New Day, they could have worked a great program together. I think we could have got some great promos. I think that was needed for the Street Profits, especially because they cut a few good promos recently that we saw before they won the tag team championships. I would like to just see more, of the character work, because that's really what's going to set them apart from what's been going on before. And I think the New Day could bring that out. I think that Xavier Woods is a genius in a lot of ways, and I feel like he's very underrated. So I know for a fact that he will have great ideas as to how they could push the Street Profits, because he strikes me as that type of guy, not selfish at all. He's already know what he's accomplished with New Day, which is a successful tag team, and in my opinion, one of the best tag teams in WWE history. And then, of course, Kofi Kingston, the legend himself. Shout out to Kofi. With those two guys, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, I think they could have brought the Street Profits to that next level. And then what better place to do it than at WrestleMania? I think all four of the guys needed that. because the New Day got their new thing going on, being heels or whatever the case is. However that's going, I'm not even sure, and I know both teams. I think they both heels, so I'm like cognizant of that. But I just felt like it should have been built differently. I think the New Day would have been the perfect opponents for the Street Profits. I think that Angelo Dawkins, he's shown so much potential. He's shown so much potential. I remember WrestleMania 39. That's like, you know me by now. I keep bringing up moments. So excuse me. I'm always stop and point out a moment. Angelo Dawkins had a moment at WrestleMania 39 when he shoulder blocked Braun Strowman. He knocked his big down, and that was impressive the way he did it. Because I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't know he had that in him, like at all. And not to say that I don't think he's capable. But Braun Strowman is a big guy. You know what I'm saying? That's a big. I just didn't think Dawkins could floor his like that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think he could truck him like that. So shout out to Angelo Dawkins for that. So ever since then, I've been like a fan, and I even been seeing it in the character work. Some of the promos I've seen recently. So especially coming from I read comments and I pay attention to what the wrestling fans say, and it was a time where they felt like Montez Ford should break off into singles competition and leave Angelo Dawkins behind, but I don't agree with that, and I respect Montez Ford for sticking to his guns and staying by his partner. You know, that's a real one. So I'm a fan of the Street Profits, so I definitely, I root for them. I want to see them do well, and to see what's happening now, them getting this second chance to run with it, I would have loved to see the New Day be the people to bring that out. I don't even know who the Street Profits have the match against, and there's no disrespect to them, but the New Day they have it. They've had it for over 10 years now. They're geniuses, and they're on another level when it comes to thinking, but it's just, again, the tag team division is so light, they haven't been able to really shine the way that they could shine, and it's a shame. So I ain't gonna spend too much time on the tag team. We're gonna move on to the next match. In the first episode, I was going over some of the matches that I did agree with. So I went into a little detail about each one of those matches. So I'm not going to do it in this episode. If you want to hear about that, then just check out the first episode for the matches that I did agree with. This episode is just for the fantasy booking worldwide classics. So it's just the matches that I felt like needed to be changed. And it was quite a few. And I didn't do tag team and women's wrestling. So apologize to y'all, the ladies in the tag teams. So the first singles match that we looking at on the card would be LA Knight. But instead of going against Jacob Fatu, I would have LA Knight going against Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. And with this, it's almost similar to the match he has now. LA Knight, that is. He has a match against Jacob Fatu, and it's basically a similar type of opponent. Strong style. They have like a dominant presence. Either way, it's still those same animals in the same ecosystem. You feel me? And so with that being said, I will move that around. And the reason I will move that around is because the next match after LA Knight and Braun Breaker is I will have Jey Uso defending the U.S. Championship against Jacob Fatu. So I know that I moved on kind of quick from LA Knight, but I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth if y'all will give me a second, if y'all will bear with me. So the reason I'm doing this is because I would rather see Jey Uso use his popularity to go against his cousin, Jacob Fatu. And they don't even have to build it like that about them being cousins. That's irrelevant. Honestly, that don't even matter. It's just the push that they felt like they're giving Jey Uso to go out for the World Heavyweight Championship. I almost felt like he should have used that momentum to help build Jacob Fatu up if they felt that strongly about Jey Uso. I feel like LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, of course they can have a good match, and I'm pretty sure they will have a good match. So I'm not even doubting that. I'm impressed by both competitors, And I know LA Knight, he's steady, improving every time he's in the ring. He's really been like showing what he's capable of. So shout out to LA Knight for that. Like I really appreciate like the effort. You know what I mean? Like I say, I'm a true fan, so I'm really like paying attention to all of the intricate details, and I'm really seeing how LA Knight, he keeps trying to reinvent himself. He wants the longevity, he wants the spot, and you can't do nothing but respect the man for that, who's going after it the way that he is. So respect to him. So again, this has nothing to do about slighting somebody or minimizing nobody. I would just rather see LA Knight go against Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. I would have Braun Breaker still be the champion and have him defend against LA Knight. And I think they would give us a great match. And even the build up to it, I think would have been better, because LA Knight, he's good on the microphone. That's one thing that has helped get him to this level. He's great on the mic. He gets a lot of comparisons to the stars of the past, but I don't really get into that. As far as I'm concerned, he's shown that he's in his own lane. He has his own personality. Now he's just trying to get everything in sync. The promos, the in-ring work, the usual, the works, everything. You know what I'm saying? So I would just keep that there, because Jacob Fatu, again, I feel like LA Knight and Jacob Fatu could have a good match, but the momentum that Jey Uso has and how he could get the crowd amped up that way with his entrance, I think that would have been perfect to have Jacob Fatu really show who he is with the fans into it like that, because I know they'll be into it with LA Knight. But again, LA Knight not the one that's challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship, and that's for a reason. So I would use that same momentum that they're giving to Jey Uso to go against Jacob Fatu, because everything that Jey Uso has been doing lately, to me, has been killing his momentum. To me, nothing that he's been doing since the Royal Rumble has helped. Everything has really hurt his character, in my opinion. I haven't really been seeing the fire, and I haven't been seeing the accuracy in the promos, and not his promos, but just the promos in general, him and Gunther. Like, I'm just not seeing a WrestleMania level type program, and it's not because they can't deliver it. It's just because it wasn't meant to be done with each other. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't meant for those two to have this WrestleMania match, in my opinion. It is what it is. Okay, we get that. But again, this is Worldwide Classics. So we reimagining a few things so we could be satisfied for all of my true fans. So with that being said, I would want to see Jacob Fatu get that shot with Jey Uso. And then not only that, I feel like they could rectify from the match last year with Jimmy and Jey Uso. Because, let's just be honest. Like, I had a lot of high hopes for that match, but it just didn't really go as planned, as expected. So unfortunately, that match didn't turn out that great, but this could be a big chance to just turn that around. And again, all of the fans that's behind Jey Uso, the way that he gets the crowd into it, and then his WrestleMania on top of that, I felt like that type of momentum, even just the energy in the arena, then having Jacob Fatu come out there, and then it's just all eyes on Jacob Fatu. Like, let him do it. Let the man, let him shine after that. For everybody that's really following professional wrestling, all of my true fans that's here, we all know who Jacob Fatu is. We all know what this man is about. He's going to be the next big thing in the WWE. And I feel like this is the place to start that. LA Knight, cool. You know what I'm saying? If he defeat LA Knight and becomes U.S. champion, again, I can't knock that. But I just felt like sometimes it's not about the title. The momentum is everything, and your opponent is everything. With Jey Uso having all of this momentum, and then even on top of that, then they are family. Because I felt like when you want to talk about long-term storytelling, I remember the promo. I forget which match it was for, but Jey Uso had the promo on SmackDown or one of the shows, and what did he say? He was like he was talking to Solo. But Jacob Fatu was on the side, right? And he told that man, he was like, man, they told us not to even mess with Cuz. And he was like, if he keep looking at me like that, I'm gonna knock his ass out. And then I went crazy. The crowd went crazy, but I went crazy even at home. And that's rare. I'm a grown man, you know what I'm saying? And I'm hard to impress because I've been watching this for so long. I went crazy for that. You know what I'm saying? And that, again, this is why Jey Uso is in that spot, because when everything is clicking, you know what I'm saying? When the promos and everything is flowing right, Jey Uso is up there with anybody because he has a unconventional delivery and approach than most of the traditional wrestlers. So that's what makes it intriguing. But if, you know, and I'm not just knocking Jey Uso, I'm pretty sure he knows this as well. If he could clean up a couple things when it comes to those promos, again, he deserves to be a world heavyweight champion. So, but yeah, when he told Jacob Fatu that, when they had that exchange, again, to me, that's long-term storytelling. That could have brought us right back to WrestleMania, right back to this weekend. And they would have delivered. And I know that would have put him in the position they needed it to be. And then once again, just to rewind for a quick second, LA Knight and Braun Breaker, I feel like you was going to get the same thing for LA Knight. So for his sake, you would have got the same dynamic. Either way it go, Braun Breaker or Jacob Fatu. So why not? In terms of Braun Breaker, I don't know what the hell type of match that is that he got for the Intercontinental Championship, and I'm not even gonna get into it. And it's a shame too, because I know it's some guys in like everybody in the match I like. Again, I'm a true fan. It's not like I dislike anybody, but again, it's a show. You know what I'm saying? It's a sport. So you have, just like in any sport, you have teams that you like and the styles they play, and you have some teams that you don't like the style that they play. And in the WWE, they're controlling people's style. So again, so it's not really a knock on the wrestlers. The WWE is writing the script, and they're the actors. And I'm not saying like, you know, on some fake, like, you know what I'm saying, like it's a fake sport. It's just an analogy. I'm just comparing the two. Like an actor, sometimes they can ad lib and do this and that in a movie, but the director and the writer, that's where you getting the cue from. So the WWE is similar to that. So again, I just want to be careful when I'm saying these things or critiquing certain matches and wrestlers, because I don't want to get that confused like it's a direct attack against them. I understand that the business that they're in, they are told what to do to a degree. They are just utilizing their skills to tell the story that the WWE wants to tell. So to go back into it, the match with Braun Breaker is going to involve some great opponents, but for some reason it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right to me. Again, it's WrestleMania. It's like, what are we doing? This is the Intercontinental Championship. To me, I'm like, I keep using the word confused because I know what's going on, but at the same time, a part of me is just confused because they should know better than this. And then it's Braun Breaker. I'm pretty sure they're going to try to make it where like he just dominates and like it'll be a good match, but Braun Breaker's going to like just dominate three people. And I'm pretty sure that's part of the reason why they put it together that way, because, you know, we all know as true fans that they're bookmarking or earmarking, whatever the phrase is, they're bookmarking Braun Breaker to be the next big star in the WWE for the next, you know, for this next generation. So I feel like to have a fatal four-way or whatever it is, to have four people involved in this match, it just screams to me that they're going to try to make him dominate these people at the end of the day. And it's just crazy to me, and I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, I don't even care. It just don't even matter. That's why I would rather have seen Braun Breaker have a one-on-one match, and I would have rather him have an opponent like LA Knight, because for Braun Breaker's sake, he needs an opponent like that. Again, this is the biggest show of the year. All eyes is on this event. And then now people have been exposed to WWE through Netflix. So you potentially have more new eyes on WrestleMania than you did before, just because of Netflix. So again, I'm looking at it from all of these different angles. Why are we about to like waste this type of opportunity to show how great these athletes are? Triple threats and fatal four ways are always kind of like clunky, always clumsy. Like it's never just it's never a smooth match. And how can it be? It's too many moving parts. And to go back to Braun Breaker for a minute, again, I'm just a true fan. I don't mean no harm. I know a lot of people look at Braun Breaker as whatever, like earmarking him for the future. And I do think, you know what I'm saying, I do think he has it because he's a Steiner. And I always been a Steiner fan. So that'll be another episode as well, too. Like, I grew up watching the Steiners, and he's the perfect embodiment of Rick and Scott. So it's incredible to see that. So I know why people want him to be the next big star. Even myself, because to see a Steiner come from the ashes and be the face of the wrestling business, who would have ever thought? as a true fan. Who would ever thought that? So I get it. But right now, I feel like Braun Breaker needs some work. I feel like he's still a little rough around the edges, and he's a little dangerous. Like, let's just keep it 100. Again, if we really watching, if we really being honest, this man's a little dangerous in the ring. And then they doing this thing where like he running the ropes at 60 miles an hour and coming off the rope, spearing you or clotheslining you. It's like they got to be careful with that, because it's like, what is we trying to, like, that's not like a move or something that excites me or something, or even a move. He just running off the ropes real fast to look impressive, but it's dangerous. And then to my recollection, didn't he already have like an incident where he had got caught up in the ropes, and luckily he was okay, but it looked crazy and it was dangerous. So again, just as a true fan, like, this ain't, trying to be critical. It's just, I understand part of the business, and part of the business is safety first. Am I right or wrong, right? So some of the things that I be seeing with him, sometimes I be scared for the opponents. I be scared for him. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, he doing too much. So, and then to put him in this type of match, I don't know. It's risky, but again, I'm not, who am I, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm just Southside Tre. I'm just a guy from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? But it's ironic because they always run into Chicago when they want the biggest crowds and the best crowds. And they always come into Chicago when new wrestlers is getting their new identities. What I mean by that is Chicago always been a city where wrestlers start to get their recognition. I remember the New Day. I remember when they came to Chicago when they were heels and they had a lot of catchphrases and stuff like that going, and Chicago was just steady. They were just steady saying all the New Day stuff. And they was one of the first crowds to do that. Even if you rewind back to WrestleMania 13, Chicago, in my opinion, was one of the birthplaces of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He walked in, a bad guy, heel, whatever you want to say, but he walked out a hero. And Chicago helped bring that picture to fruition. They helped paint that picture. You know what I'm saying? They were an important piece of that ingredient. So back to me being a true fan, I just want to point that out, man. Like, I'm from Chicago, so trust me. You know what I'm saying? We really do love our sports. Wrestling, baseball, basketball, whatever. Chicago, we love our sports, and we passionate. Why wouldn't we be? We came from a city where a man once upon a time won 6 championships. See what I'm saying? Like, it was nothing. 3-peated both times. We come from that. So it's like we've literally sat here and seen the best. So when we look at things and when we do things, it's kind of almost in a different context because we've seen the best do it. So we have a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us have a different measuring stick when it comes to success, when it comes to being the best. Look at CM Punk. He's a perfect embodiment of everything I just said. He speaks his mind and he goes for what he believes in. But this ain't about CM Punk right now. I'll get to my mans in a minute. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, Chicago, shout out to my city, man. Love y'all. So anyway, back to Dangerous Braun Breaker. And they gave him the perfect name, Braun Breaker. They let he gonna hurt something. You know what I mean? Like, they know it. So it's like, let's be careful, man. Let's be careful, because let's slow down. You too strong for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, you doing moves that the Steiners did. You lifting people above your heads. Like, I get it. It's impressive. But it's just some things where we got to slow it down, baby. We got to slow down. So I think I'm going to kind of wrap it up right there, because the main point is Braun Breaker shouldn't be in this fatal 4-way match. He should still be the Intercontinental Champion, but he should be defending that against LA Knight. And LA Knight shouldn't have the United States Championship. Somehow Jey Uso should have had it, and Jey Uso should be defending the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. And if everything continues to go well for Jey Uso, then he should have won the Royal Rumble next year. He should have had this just one more year to really solidify himself with the fans. That's the naysayers now. And maybe there's some people that could argue that what difference would a year makes. But as we all know, or some of us know that really put in the work, a year could make a whole hell of a lot of difference. And I felt like he needed just one more year to just really, stamp his impact. And in a match with Jacob Fatu to heighten Jacob Fatu on the roster, I felt like that could have been a part of that move, because we could have looked back at this match and said, damn, Jacob Fatu showed up in this match, and so did Jey Uso. you know. And the same thing might happen with Jacob Fatu and LA Knight, but it just don't even matter. Certain people make certain impacts against each other. Certain people have better matches against each other. That's just the way it is. I didn't make it that way. We've watched wrestling for so long. We all know that. It could be some of the best wrestlers, but if they don't mesh well in the ring, then the match just gonna fall down. So this is the reason why we making the revisions here on Worldwide Classics. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one, man. All right, so we did that. Okay, so in honor of Worldwide Classics, the reason why I like to call this program that is because I feel like there are so many great wrestlers in the business right now that are just international. Like, we have so many international stars, and this is the perfect time to bring all of these athletes together and have the best matches. It was a time that I felt like NXT was the perfect example of what I'm mentioning right now, the black and gold, when Triple H was in charge of that. So again, this is never trying to knock Triple H, because I will always be a fan of Triple H for what he did at NXT. I can't remember the exact years, but it was just maybe a 3 or 4 year span where NXT had some of the greatest wrestling in the world, in my opinion. And they had the freedom and the luxury of doing things a little bit differently than they would have had to do on the main roster. And ironically, that's why a lot of guys from NXT don't do well on the main roster, because like I alluded to a little while ago, it's not up to the wrestlers how things go. They're being instructed to work a certain way. So even with that in mind, it's so many nuances and variables to why things go the way they go in the world of professional wrestling. And a lot of times we get cheated as the fans. And again, that's why I'm here, because when I feel like we get cheated, then I'm going to put us back on track with a Worldwide Classic. So again, with that being said, that phrase, my next match, it involves Penta. And as we all know, Penta's been one of the hottest things since he's got to the company, and rightfully so. He brings a whole different style, a whole different approach. You know, for a lot of people, they can't take their eyes off of him. He's a real star. He attracts that attention, has that star quality. I can't remember who Penta has a match against. He might be in that Fatal 4-Way. Matter of fact, he might be. Like, I don't even know, because like I say, I can't even deal with that. Like, that's too much for my mind to process right now. There's just too much going on with that. So Penta could be in that match, but if he is in that match, I would rather him be in a Worldwide Classic. And in order for him to do that, his opponent would be somebody that, to be honest, I haven't been watching it, so I don't know if he's been performing. He might be hurt. So I do gotta say that first, because I understand he might be hurt, and some people might, try to point that out. So I've taken that into account. But hurt or not, I feel like we'll get a Worldwide Classic having Penta go against Dragunov. I can't pronounce his first name, Ilyaev or something like that, Dragunov. But Dragunov, I feel like he would be the perfect opponent for Penta. And that would be a Worldwide Classic. That would be an embodiment of the type of style of wrestling that I would like to see. Not all of the time, but it has to be prevalent. We have to have these these unique matches where we might not even feel like we don't even know we deserve it. We don't even know we need it. You know what I'm saying? You hear a lot of people say that, the things we ain't know we need, right? Penta versus Ilya Dragunov. That'll be, to me, that could steal the show, because Penta has already shown that he's box office. He's doing things where, we're all watching. He's reinventing the luchador style in a way. And maybe I'm saying too much by saying reinventing, but in my opinion, because I'm used to the smaller luchadors that are doing a lot of high flying things, and Penta can do the high flying things, but he has a more stockier body type, so he doesn't move exactly how the traditional luchadors move. So that's the reason that I say, in my opinion, he's kind of reinventing it, or he's kind of tweaking the traditional luchador style. And then to go against a guy like Ilya Dragunov, I don't even know what that style is. That man just crazy. Like, that man is out his mind. He put on some of the best matches in NXT, when he spent his time there. When I paid attention to that, the character, just like Penta, but in a different way. And that's why I would love to see this match on a WrestleMania stage, because they're similar, but they so different. You know, again, I'm not even sure what country Dragunov is from. I should know by the name, but I can't even put it together right now. So you got to forgive me for that. But whatever country he's from and whatever style that is, to put that against the style of Penta with the luchador style, reinvented, I feel like they could steal the show, because I don't know what we'll see. Ilya Dragunov, the things that he does is just unconventional, but it's like a strong style in a way, in my opinion. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but it's like a strong style to me. You know, for him to be a smaller type of competitor or a smaller athlete, his strikes and his blows are huge though. Like when he hits you, it's like you getting hit by, you know, a big guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like you getting hit by Drew McIntyre or somebody like that. You feel me? Like for him to be a smaller athlete or not the traditional size WWE athletes that we accustomed to, he hits pretty hard. And just the thing he does in the ring. Again, he's had classics with Trick. He's had classics with, I think, Carmelo Hayes, if I ain't mistaken, and a few others. And again, I feel like that match would be the perfect thing to get both of those guys the momentum they need. Penta already has it. Penta will be good regardless what match he's in. He's in that golden era, as I call it. Like some people get into a golden stage with like the King Midas. Everything they touch turn to gold. And I think Penta is at that level right now. So you can't go wrong no matter what match Penta is in. But for Dragunov, just like I was just saying about NXT, it's hard for those NXT wrestlers to come to the main roster and have that immediate impact that they had. And it almost feel like the momentum is just really gone. I feel like it's falling flat, like they have to figure out something all over again, go back to the drawing board. This could be the type of match that could show the main roster fans what Dragunov could really do. Penta could bring that out. He could bring out a style of wrestling that we might not have even seen the type of match that these two could put on. That's why it was so amazing to see Dragunov versus Gunther, a.k.a. Walter at the time, in NXT UK. When the world saw Gunther versus Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship, it caught everybody by storm, because we've never seen anything quite like that. We've seen a lot of wrestling. And that's when you know something special, when you see something that you haven't really saw, that you can't really recollect when you've seen that style of match. And then the fact that it was no audience, they were the ones that almost redefined the pandemic era in the WWE, when there was no fans, no crowds. Because that type of match, you almost just didn't need an audience. You wanted to just hear what was going on in the ring. Excuse me, my notes falling. But you almost didn't need an audience. The way that they was fighting, you wanted to just hear the action, because you was really hearing the slaps and the chops and the punches and the screams and the pleas and the agony. Like, that was professional wrestling at the highest level. So to bring me back to Dragunov, he's proven in my book, that's all of the match you need to know about Dragunov and the potential he has. So I'll say it one more time, just in case you want to go back and re-educate yourself on a real professional wrestling match. That would be Walter at the time. Now he's Gunther, but at that time he was Walter versus Dragunov. I'm not even going to keep trying to say his first name, because I feel like I'm not even saying it right and I'm looking crazy. So Dragunov versus Walter, NXT UK. Look that up if you need to know about why I'm picking Dragunov to go against Penta. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I think that's enough said. So now that we've done that, okay, now let's go ahead and get into this one. Now check this out. How y'all feel about this? Because this might be a little controversial to some people. Not controversial, but some people might think is whack. But if they do, I think you whack, because you're not really looking at the big picture. But anyway, all jokes aside, we know about the main event for night one, the triple threat match, and I've already explained in episode 1 that I don't like it. So with that being said, I would take, well, in the first episode, I said that if they were to go that route, I just would have removed Seth Rollins. And I just would have had CM Punk and Roman Reigns just fight over Paul Heyman. I mean, not, you know what I'm saying, not literally, but, you know, that's basically what they kind of doing right now. But I would have CM Punk and Roman Reigns. It wouldn't even be the main event, but CM Punk and Roman Reigns would just go at each other, and they could still do the favor because that's their version of long-term storytelling, and that's okay. They could have it, but it just should have been CM Punk and Roman Reigns straight up, and then he should have still did the favor, had Paul Heyman come out with him, and then that would have been cool. Like, they're overdoing it by adding Seth Rollins in, and some people are speculating that maybe Paul Heyman is about to affiliate himself with Seth Rollins. And I'm not gonna lie, if they do that, then I'll shut up. Like, I'll just let it be. If that is what happened, I would like to see that, because I honestly do believe that Seth Rollins needs that type of catalyst. I think that might be the thing that's missing from Seth Rollins as well. I think he needs that extra piece to really get him to that next level that Roman Reigns was comfortable at for so many years, because Seth Rollins is one of the greatest wrestlers that I've ever seen, and I've alluded to that in episode 1. I've named a few bangers that he's had over the past few years already, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that his character hasn't quite hit that next level. It hasn't hit that next level yet. So adding Paul Heyman to his side, that could definitely do that. So if that's the route they go, I'll just shut up, and then I would tell y'all that I'm wrong. I will come back after WrestleMania, and when we do the review, I'll say that I'm wrong, because just by them putting Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins, that would make all of it worth it, in my opinion. Other than that, it's stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, other than that, it's stupid. So unless you're going to put Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins, it's dumb and stupid. I don't want to see it. So with that being said, I also alluded to in episode 1 that I would rather see Roman Reigns go against an opponent that's kind of up and coming. I would like to just see Roman Reigns go a whole different route with that star power that he's accrued over the past few years, being the most dominant superstar in the company, in the business. I would want to see him use that to start strengthening somebody else's career. And when I was looking at the roster, again, I kind of see why a lot of matches were made the way they're made, because as talented as people are in the wrestling business, the roster is still kind of short, and it's still kind of light. And I was a little bit surprised, because I thought they had way more people on the roster than that. But when I really looked at it yesterday, when I was putting together this card, that was one of the first things I noticed. Like, damn, that's it. That's who they got, because I see why they put Roman Reigns in a triple threat match, because they're going the opposite route of the route I'm about to go. They're looking at it like he just came off of one of the most historic runs in WWE in history. And I'm pretty sure they're looking at it like they don't have the star power again. That's another thing that I talked about before. They don't have the star power to give Roman Reigns the caliber of match that they know he deserves coming off of that run, because he shouldn't just drop the title to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40 and then you can't give him a great match to rebound from that. And I know that was a predicament that the writers and or Triple H was in. And they had to figure out, how do we give Roman Reigns a high-profile match, especially since he doesn't have the title, and it won't be for the title. Even though they could have went a couple other ways too, the way that I went is I feel like they should have picked Damian Priest. I feel like Damian Priest and Roman Reigns should have had a match this year at WrestleMania. And again, I know that might sound a little whack to some people, you know, like, damn, Damian Priest. But yes, Damian Priest. I feel like Priest showed me something when he won the World Heavyweight Championship last year at WrestleMania 40. And again, it's just like what I'm saying with Roman Reigns. When you're doing these things and making these moments for the company, then you should be able to have a good follow-up. And this is WrestleMania 41. This is a year later, and Damian Priest is getting the same match that he had last year. Even though it was a cash-in, we still just saw him against Drew McIntyre, and he won the championship in that with the Money in the Bank cash-in at last year's WrestleMania. And I'm just tired of seeing the same people getting in the ring with each other. So I don't want to see Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest this year in a street fight. Episode 1, you know, you'll hear my thoughts about it on episode 1, so go back and check that out. So I would rather him go against Roman Reigns, Damian Priest versus Roman Reigns, because Damian Priest has a lot of potential, and I feel like similar to a lot of other guys, his booking has been minimizing his potential, and it didn't kill all of his momentum. Because I was a fan of the Judgment Day, me personally. I was a big fan of the Judgment Day. I'm a guy, I like stables. Like when it comes to professional wrestling, I'm a stable guy. I like groups. I like the groups getting together, and I like that dynamic. Cause I always been like, I come from being a fan of like the Four Horsemen, the NWO, even though those two not in the same caliber, but Four Horsemen, NWO, DX, The Shield. I'm a fan of groups, so I'm a stable guy. Judgment Day, to me, they organically got their push when it comes to the crowd and the people. And I hate the way that had to end. I hate the way that they ended that, the way they did, because it was just stupid. And again, episode 1, I touched on that, so I'm not going to go too deep into it now. But I hated the fact that Damian Priest's momentum got stopped the way they stopped Judgment Day in that way, because it's Judgment Day still going, but it's just not the same. And it lost all of its steam. And Damian Priest really was looking like a star to me. Like, it was really starting to show. And if he could have kept being the leader of that group the way that he was, that's all that needed to happen. Like, they was on the right track. Just leave him in a group and then just write good stories for the group. Have him some good opponents. Even if you took the title. Y'all could have took the title from him, but he should have never been out of Judgment Day. Him having a riff with Finn Balor, like, no, they should have used them. They should have used being mad about losing the World Heavyweight Championship to be more devious, to be more vicious and violent. They should have used that thing to go even crazier on the roster as the Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley too, because I think she lost her title around that time or something like that. So they all should have just had a chip on their shoulder, and we should have seen a more dangerous side of the Judgment Day, Dominic included, because we're not seeing any real growth from Dominic. I'm pretty sure his air ring work is getting better, because that's just repetition. So I'm pretty sure he's getting better in the ring. But overall, to me, his best character work was when it was that version of the Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and we just never been able to get the same traction since then. So this is the reason why I'm picking him against Roman Reigns, because whether it was with Judgment Day or not, that would have been a great storyline too, was to see the Judgment Day have an issue with Roman Reigns, because Damian Priest could just take it upon himself to feel like he wants to show the WWE and the world that he's the next king. He's the next face of the company. And he had that type of bravado going for him when he was winning the World Heavyweight Championship. That's what his character should have been, because he's already a big guy. So he should have had that type of mentality where it's like, I'm not waiting for nobody to give me the opportunity. I'm taking it. Who gonna stop me? I'm Damian Priest. And then I got the Judgment Day with me. We are the Judgment Day. I'm taking it. I don't care if it's Roman Reigns. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who, you know what I'm saying? And really stand on it. Because a lot of people can't really match Roman Reigns on the strength side. Damian Priest is a much bigger man than Roman Reigns, or probably not by much, but I'm just saying, like, that's a real threat and opposition to Roman Reigns. A lot of these guys Roman Reigns is getting in the ring with, they don't even look like a credible threat to Roman Reigns. So again, even in this regard, like even in this regard, like, it's the perfect fit for both guys, because it actually looks like something where you really don't know who can win. Like, take away what you know about Roman Reigns. If you put them two guys in the ring, you really don't know who will come out on top and win. And again, in the point that they're at right now in their careers, it would have been a nice thing to see Roman Reigns use that star power of his to push somebody like Damian Priest, because Damian Priest don't even have to win the match. And he wouldn't, because it's Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns lost last year. So they're not going to let him lose 2 times in a row. I mean, but again, in this triple threat match that he's in, it's okay for him to lose because of the 2 people that he's in the ring with. So again, I understand why the WWE, why they do certain things. So, but in this regard, if it's not those top guys, CM Punk and Seth Rollins, then they wouldn't let Roman Reigns just lose to, however you want to put that. I don't want to say nothing that seems disrespectful, but they wouldn't let Roman Reigns lose to somebody that they don't look at as a big star. And like I say, Damian Priest wouldn't even have to lose. He would just have to look real strong in the match, and that's all you have to do. And Damian Priest was showing that when he was the world heavyweight champion. He has a certain move set where it's like it's power, but it's rare that you see a big guy that actually knows how to. They know how to really show the force, if that makes any sense. Like when Damian Priest does elbow strikes and he does punches and certain moves like that, it looks strong, like it looks real. You know what I'm saying? Because that's important. Like a lot of times you see guys, they just throwing punches and kicks and it's not even connecting. Like it's looking phony. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting down with people watching wrestling and they hate that I'm watching it. And they like, this shit ain't even real. They not even connecting. You know what I'm saying? But when Damian Priest does these moves, it looks like it's connecting. It looks like it's strong and forceful. And it's the devil's in the details. It's the little things. It's the little things that make professional wrestling the art that it is. The little details. And so that little detail for Damian Priest makes me a fan because I know just from that's just the foundation. Now we could build on that because the foundation's strong. He makes it look real. He makes it look like he's really being violent inside of the ring. He's really physically imposing. So this is, to me, the perfect person to go against Roman Reigns. And it's a breath of fresh air because this is not a recycled thing. This is not something that we keep seeing for over 10 years and we long-term storytelling. Like, no, I'm tired of seeing certain dynamics. It's time for a breath of fresh air. What's the point of building up guys to be stars just for them to keep going up? Just to keep going against the guys that they came up with. It makes zero sense. This is technically a new generation. Time has been flying. The Shield, maybe I don't know the exact time, but that's like 10 years old by this point. They were the new generation there. It's a new generation now. Like in basketball, LeBron James was the era, you know what I'm saying, last. And now he's the oldest basketball player in the league. It's a whole new generation. So again, back to what we talking about with Roman Reigns, why do we keep, he doesn't have too many years left. We want him to stick around as long as he can, but again, I just father time. So why do we keep wasting time? He needs to be building up the guys that's going to be here for the next 10 years. And Damian Priest is going to be one of those guys. He's proven it to me because I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical about Damian Priest for a while. So I'm not saying this lightly, putting him into a match against Roman Reigns on that caliber of a match. I'm not saying that lightly because I wasn't a big fan of Damian Priest for a while. You know, it's ironic. I'm going to veer off for a second. It's ironic how they put him and Finn Balor together in the Judgment Day. And that was another reason that I like that move. And I'll tell you why. It's because in Damian Priest's time at NXT, this is when I wasn't really a big fan. I wasn't really sold on it. But he had a match against Finn Balor in your house NXT. And not only was it to me like the best match on the card, that was the best match that I've seen from Damian Priest. And it was the best match I've seen from Finn Balor. Because I know Finn Balor is a world-renowned legend. And I know he's done things for over a decade. And I know he's like one of the top technical wrestlers and all of that. But for my money, I haven't seen it in the WWE that way. And again, I know it's not his fault because he's not able to do all of the things he's done in New Japan and wherever else he's been at. He's not able to be that same wrestler. And then it was already reports when Vince McMahon was there that he just wasn't into guys who he felt like were smaller athletes. So Finn Balor just didn't never get the push that fans of his would have liked. But for me, I kind of see where Vince coming from. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to Finn Balor, but I see where Vince McMahon was coming from with it. Because even when you look at the guys that they have in the WWE, it's hard to really book Finn Balor. Like, you want to give him a push, but how can you really push him? If we want it to look realistic, even with him and Damian Priest, when they fell out and they had a match against each other, again, to me, it was silly now on the main roster. And NXT, back to my point, that was the best match for both of them. And Finn Balor was kind of wrestling in a different style. So maybe that's why now on the main roster, that match didn't really do nothing for me. The match that Finn Balor and Damian Priest had on the main roster more recently. But in NXT, Finn Balor was just on a different level. But like I just said, he was able to be more who he is. And just the style he was using. He was aggressive. He was relentless. He stayed on top of Damian Priest almost the whole match, meaning he was not giving this man no time to regroup. He was not giving you no time to breathe. I love that style and that viciousness of Finn Balor. And for some reason, we just haven't been able to see it on the main roster. But for anybody that's a true fan and want to check out what I'm saying, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that match out. Finn Balor and Damian Priest, NXT, in your house. That's the style that I want to see Finn Balor running with, if he's going to have a chance, because that's what you have to do. If the higher ups in the company think you're a smaller athlete, you just got to beat ass now. And you got to be one of the most vicious guys that's in the company. You got to stand out that way. So I hope they get it together for Finn Balor. But back to Damian Priest, Finn Balor has those intangibles that I'm naming and that I'm saying that's missing from Finn Balor. Damian Priest has those intangibles. So a match against Roman Reigns, I think it'll just be the best thing for both those guys, because Roman Reigns, we already know what he's capable of and what he's accomplished. But a lot of times, in my opinion, he's not able to really show the caliber of wrestler he really is because the lack of a great opponent. They don't really have like too many guys lined up to give him a great match in that way. Like even his run as the longest reigning champion, when you look at that list, it's a pretty underwhelming list. It's a few guys on there where it's like, damn, okay, yeah, that's a good victory. That's a good W. But then there's a lot of guys on there like, okay, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, like, what are we talking about? So again, so to wrap that on up, to wrap up this whole thing, I would have Roman Reigns versus Damian Priest. That's the best thing for Damian Priest. Now that they didn't kill all his momentum, they could have made him look strong, could have been all eyes on him again, and then he could have showed what he was really about. The promo work would have came together. Any little thing they would have built up with Paul Heyman involved, that would have been great for Damian Priest. So again, it was just a missed opportunity, but who knows? Maybe we'll get that at another WrestleMania. Let's move on to the next match. This next match, but not only are we having fun, but it's almost a tribute at the same time too. Now that you guys getting to know me with Worldwide Classics and you're getting to see the type of true fan that I am, when it comes to WWE, I'm a Bray Wyatt guy. I'm a Bray Wyatt guy all the way around. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers since FCW. He's the reason that I know about FCW, because he was cutting some promos on FCW that just instantly made him become my favorite wrestler. And it was hands down. It didn't even matter the things that he was doing in the ring, because the in-ring work, it is what it was. He actually was having a lot of matches against smaller guys, you know, and that kind of hurt him moving forward, because it was kind of hard to translate for him too on the main roster when it comes to in-ring work. But the thing that captivated me captivated a lot of people, and that's the character. And that's all that really mattered. And it's weird because it's professional wrestling, so you need the action to be there, but that's just how talented and how gifted Bray Wyatt was. He was able to create a whole movement purely off his character, and purely off the promos, and purely off his mind, because the man's a genius. So with that being said, and as a tribute to Bray Wyatt, I would have just loved to see the Wyatt Six built up a little bit differently, because I don't know what's going on with them. Maybe because I haven't been watching it, maybe they appeared again, but you know, they just vanished. And I was afraid that would happen, because it was cool to put it together, but I knew long term they were going to run into the same problems they ran into with Bray, and that's just not understanding what to do with that type of character, because it is things that you could do to get that character over with the Wyatt Six. And with that being said, we could have built it a little bit differently. One of the feuds that the Wyatt Six had was against Karrion Kross and his new faction. I forget what the name of it was. I think it was Final Testament. I don't even want to get into that, because I don't know what happened with it. It was a project, and I don't think it really went that well. But Karrion Kross, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone in this, Karrion Kross is somebody that I feel like could be a top star too. I feel like that when he was in NXT, we saw the best version of him. And when I saw that version, I thought that he would quickly become a top star on the main roster. But like I keep saying, it's difficult to make that transition to the main roster. So we've seen Karrion Kross struggle in a lot of ways. And when Vince McMahon was there, I just almost thought he was just going to leave the company and go try again somewhere else. And in a lot of ways, maybe he should have, but I'm glad that he stuck around. And I know that he's doing what he can to get his character to where it needed to be. And it's not all on him. Like I say, it's the company they have a fault in that as well. But with that being said, I wish that they would have waited a little longer to give us that feud. I wish they would have gave us that feud leading into this WrestleMania, because it was a missed opportunity to include Karrion Kross in WrestleMania. And what we could have did in terms of the Wyatt Six, we didn't need like a big group match or whatever the case is. Again, it's just about presentation. I feel like they just didn't know what to do with the Wyatt Six, and really it's not an opinion. They're showing it. They don't know what to do with them. A guy like me, I created Worldwide Classics because when it comes to unique situations like this, I know exactly what to do with it, because I'm just a true fan, and I love unique storylines as well as the traditional ones. And I think that they overthink a lot of things. And yeah, you got too many people in the Wyatt Six, but it doesn't matter. You have the catalyst and the leader, which is Bo Dallas, which is, I'm not even gonna get into his alias, because as much as I like the character, I feel like it's stupid to say his name. So I'm just gonna say Bo Dallas. Maybe that's something they could fix in the future, but the name leaves a lot to be desired. So Bo Dallas, and I've always been a fan of Bo Dallas. So I was happy to see him get this chance to carry on his brother's legacy. I was one of the most excited fans to see everything that was transpiring. Even his first two promos that he did, where he was interviewing himself as his alter ego and as Bo Dallas. Those first two promos are some of my favorite promos of all time, especially the second one. That's almost my favorite Bo Dallas promo, and I was very proud. But I just knew sooner or later they weren't going to be able to keep up with it, because to them it's too much craziness. But life is what you make it. The WWE make it crazy because they don't understand it. It's simple. This is why he just has people that just follow his bit, and they believe in they believe in his program. They believe in the Fiend and what the Bray Wyatt character was doing. And so they could do whatever they want to do. That's the point. And then you got a guy like Karrion Kross. However y'all wanted to introduce this angle, the WWE could have did it whatever way they wanted to. But it should have been closer to WrestleMania. And then what I would have did personally, since we hear Worldwide Classics, let's give a Worldwide Classic booking. Me personally, I would have had Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy both want to step up and have a match with Karrion Kross, because Bo Dallas is just going to pick somebody from the group to represent the group. And Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, they're so fired up about wanting to fight somebody and wanting to represent the group and make Bo Dallas proud that they both volunteer. But not only do they volunteer, they the Wyatt Six. They crazy, they out their mind, right? So we got to sell that. We got to show that. So I would have them almost be mad at each other and almost like get to pushing each other over it and about to fight each other over who's gonna have a match with Karrion Kross, to the point where Bo Dallas does his thing, laughing, whatever the case is, the crazy menacing laugh, this, that, and the third, and he just comes up to the decision for them to have a match. They're gonna have a match against each other. Dexter Lumis versus Joe Gacy. And then just for shits and giggles, just to make it a little bit more interesting, Bo Dallas, he makes it a no disqualification. He makes it a no DQ match, because they crazy and they're gonna go all out. So with that in place, when they do have this match, they just go all out. They go all out. They give each other one of the craziest matches that we've seen in a street fight or a no DQ match. They pull out as many stops as they can to get themselves over, but with each other, but as a group, because they're gonna do everything in their power to make the fans believe that they might just fall out after this, that the group just automatically just might break up because of the type of violence that these two crazy lunatics are inflicting on each other, but because of the type of violence that you're seeing amongst teammates. I feel like that they should have beat the hell out of each other, and then ultimately Dexter Lumis should have won that match. I personally would have picked Dexter Lumis out of the group of the Wyatt Six to go against Karrion Kross. I felt like this would have been a perfect way to honor Bray Wyatt and have the Wyatt Six involved in WrestleMania, and then it would have been a great way to have Karrion Kross involved in WrestleMania. And we could have got what we wanted as fans on both sides. We could have seen Karrion Kross on the big stage, and then we honoring Bray Wyatt with putting in actually a good athlete. Like, it ain't even like we just throwing anybody in there just for the sake of honoring Bray Wyatt. Dexter Lumis is somebody, again, that was in NXT who showed potential, you know, and he still has a lot of untapped potential. And I felt like this would have been a good way to start putting that light on him, for him to break out of that shell. I felt like when I watched him have a couple matches with the Wyatt Six, I almost saw a new energy out of Dexter Lumis. And I was happy for him because I felt like, oh, okay, he finally about to get a shot. And then I never seen him again on TV. So it's just disappointing to see that, because guys get re-energized when they get these second chances. And he had that second chance, and they just let it fall by the wayside. And I think this would have been a way to not only have a great match, but again, you could have built Karrion Kross and the Wyatt Six moving forward. You could have started again by that street fight or that no DQ match with Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, because that match could have showed what Joe Gacy is about. Because in NXT, we know what Joe Gacy is about. I was a fan of his in NXT. You know, that man, he actually resembles Bray Wyatt a lot. He actually has a lot of Bray Wyatt characteristics. The thing I like about Joe Gacy is he's a little bit better in the ring, though. He's a little bit better with his in-ring work. And so that's the unique thing about it. He has a similar character to Bray, but his style in the ring is a little better. And that was always the thing that I felt like was holding Bray Wyatt back at certain points in his career. So Joe Gacy has potential too. And I felt like having that match with Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis first on just a crazy in-house fight to see who gonna represent the team. Even just having a match like that is just something different, because here at Worldwide Classic, having a match like that, a no DQ match with teammates to determine who's gonna fight somebody else, again, it's just different storytelling. Because again, while we keep doing the same angles and the same stories, it's time to see different things. It's time to see new ideas. And I thought that would have been a great idea. And I thought it would have gave both guys a lot of momentum, because I felt like the crowd would have appreciated it. Because after Dexter Lumis wins the match with Joe Gacy in a no DQ match, after they done beat the hell out of each other, and you think they hate each other and you think they want to kill each other, after they do all of that, then they embrace, they hug. And then the Wyatt Six, they get together in the ring and they all hug, and they show that they are just as united as ever. It showed that didn't even phase nothing. They just that crazy. That sometimes that's just how they handle things. Sometimes that's how they make decisions. They just got to get it in. They just got to fight to the death. And that's how they get things done, because they the Wyatt Six. So again, to me, it's perfect storytelling. And then again, you would have got the match at WrestleMania you would have got the WrestleMania match to go after that, and it's just showcasing Dexter Lumis. And then it could have been anybody that won. But for now, since it's my show, since it's Worldwide Classic, I honestly would have had Dexter Lumis win the match. I would have had Dexter Lumis defeat Karrion Kross, because Kross didn't need a victory at WrestleMania. At this point, just him making WrestleMania would have been the victory. So I would love to have just seen Dexter Lumis win that match, and only because after he wins the match, then it's a strange respect between Karrion Kross and Dexter Lumis, as well as the Wyatt Six, because really they all crazy. Karrion Kross is just as crazy as the Wyatt Six, and I think if Bray Wyatt was alive, I think they were going to try to do something with Karrion Kross. So even in that spirit, that makes this match bring everything full circle. It makes everything come full circle if that rumor was true, that Karrion Kross was going to work with Bray Wyatt before he passed away. Having Karrion Kross go against one of the Wyatt Six members, and in this case, Dexter Lumis, at WrestleMania 41, would have been a great tribute to Bray Wyatt, and would have been a great move for Karrion Kross. And then after Dexter Lumis wins this match, Karrion Kross shakes the hand of Dexter Lumis, and he don't even have to shake the hand of the rest of the Wyatt Six. They could just watch. They could watch. We just gonna keep it G. We gonna keep it 100. He just shake one man's hand, the man that he just went to war with, and he get out the ring, and then the Wyatt Six, they come in and they celebrate and they do their thing, because you know it's gonna be emotional for Bray Wyatt. Again, a win-win. You put the spotlight on Karrion Kross. You showed some strength for Dexter Lumis, hopefully gave him a push. And then again, you honoring the man himself, Bray Wyatt. So rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. Shout out to the Wyatt Six. Shout out to Karrion Kross. But maybe one day we going to get a match like that. Because now that we got worldwide classics, who knows? Somebody might be listening. This next match, it involves Randy Orton. And just like everything else, we talked about it briefly on episode 1. So with Randy Orton, for him, you know, I explained what I thought in episode 1. This is a great opportunity for Randy Orton. There's rumors that Aleister Black and Rusev will be coming back, or they've signed to WWE. That's what reports have said. If that is true, then I want to see Randy Orton have a match against Rusev. I want Rusev to be his mystery opponent. And I want that to happen. I felt like that would just be a great match for both guys. Obviously, Rusev would need something like that. And then I think Randy Orton just needs that classic match. And I know that Rusev, I just know that the type of mind frame he in, after everything he's been through, I know Rusev is dying. He's dying to get in here and show us who he is. He's ready to get in here and remind everybody what Rusev Day is all about. And I personally can't wait to see it. And Randy deserves it. And even if you look at it from a technical standpoint, Rusev is very similar to KO in terms of some of the body type. I know Rusev is a little stockier, but to me, they still kind of have a similar build and kind of a similar style, an aggressive and violent style. So there are some similarities between Rusev and Kevin Owens. So that's another reason why I would let Rusev be the one that answers the call and make his re-debut on the big stage in a Cody Rhodes type of fashion. And because I know even after WrestleMania, as long as the booking is strong, I don't see no reason why Rusev shouldn't be one of the top guys in the next couple of years as well. Like, because again, it's about to change. We're about to start seeing the next stars, and I don't see how you drop the ball with Rusev this time. I just don't see how you do it. He's too talented. The fans love him. He just has something about him that he's just already connected with the fans. We all root for the man. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that because that just is what it is. I just want to see a great match. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Worldwide Classic. So let's just pick up right where we left off at. The next match, I got to kind of rewind a little bit because when during the break, I had noticed that I did something that Vince McMahon did at WrestleMania 17 when he left Triple H and The Undertaker off the card. And I just realized that out of all these matches that I revised, I left Seth Rollins off the card. So I had to go back and I had to revise that a little bit. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to a match that I mentioned earlier with LA Knight. I said that LA Knight should be going against Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. So what I did was I actually played into the WWE hands, and I did something that it seemed like they love to do lately, and that's make a triple threat match. Because all of my matches so far have just been singles matches, but this time I decided to throw a little triple threat match in there on behalf of WWE. Try to make everybody happy, right? So with that being said, what I did was I still left LA Knight versus Braun Breaker, but this time I added Drew McIntyre into this match. Now I was kind of going back and forth with this even before now, revising it because I thought that that I might put Drew McIntyre versus LA Knight for WrestleMania, and then they had like some type of squabble at the Royal Rumble. They had like a fallout or whatever at the Royal Rumble, and I'm not sure if that was a work or a shoot, but either way it went, the internet and the wrestling fans pretty much knew that it was something between the two. So I didn't watch after, so I don't know if they had a match or not. I felt like that could have been one way to go about it. You could have just linked into that feud for WrestleMania, because if it was real life heat between the two, to me those would make the best matches. Is when it's some sort of real life problem involved. It just turns into money on the screen and inside the ring. So I was going back and forth with that, but ultimately I had decided LA Knight versus Braun Breaker. But now, as I had to revise my own card, I'm gonna add Drew McIntyre to make it a triple threat match. So now it'll be LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. Everything I said before about LA Knight and Braun Breaker remains true, but now you adding Drew McIntyre into the mix, so you get that feud with him and LA Knight, but then you also get a breath of fresh air seeing him versus Braun Breaker, because these are two guys that are physically imposing, hard-hitting, and I felt like their styles actually would mix very well together, even if it was just a singles match. But I felt like this actually could be one of the few triple threat matches that stands out and lives up to the hype. A lot of triple threat matches that we hear about or that we're seeing, I really don't feel the spark from those matches, but with this one, I feel like it's a breath of fresh air. These are some people that we haven't seen in the ring against each other, and then I think they'll just do something special because they know that this would be the type of match that could catapult all of their careers to the next level. And LA Knight and Braun Breaker, they really need that boost. And as I've alluded to in the previous episode, I feel like Drew McIntyre is a major player in WWE, and I predict big things in his future moving forward in that company. So I think inserting him into my match with LA Knight and Braun Breaker would just do to both of those guys wonders for their career. I think Drew McIntyre could push them in a way that we could see a physicality from both guys that could catapult their career to that next level. So that's my one and only triple threat match is with those guys. So now that we move on, I guess we could call this like the main event of the Worldwide Classic Revise. And with that being said, Seth Rollins, who better, right? Because before I even get into the match, I will say this. I believe that it's Seth Rollins' time now. Like, it has to be, right? Because he's had sparks and he's had moments where it seemed like he was on the cusp of going to the next level. But for different reasons, I feel like he just haven't reached that point yet. But I'm starting to feel like now we're starting to see the momentum build where he could potentially be the guy. Because as we all know, Roman Reigns has been the guy, and Seth Rollins has kind of been like 1B. But now I feel like we could get into the Seth Rollins era, even with the match that they already have booked with the triple threat match. I'm hoping that match has some sort of surprise for us that does exactly what I'm mentioning, that puts Seth Rollins in this next level of superstardom. But in my match, in the Worldwide Classic, I'm going to put Seth Rollins in a similar situation that he was in with WrestleMania 38. Because as you guys know by now, that was one of my favorite Seth Rollins match. And everything about that match was perfect. The fact that it was a mystery opponent, the fact that it ended up being Cody Rhodes, and then just the type of match they had. Like, they really stole the show, in my opinion. So with that being said, I know that I keep talking about how WWE, they're recycling matches and giving us some of the same things over and over again. But in this regard, I feel like since this has already happened to Seth Rollins before, he should have another mystery opponent. I feel like that should have played a role. Like, somehow we should have kind of got back to that where it almost seems like the WWE is forgetting about him and focusing on CM Punk and Roman Reigns and other guys. And they kind of play into that storyline with Seth Rollins so that now he feels a certain type of way about that. And now he's starting to, turn into a madman for real, because this will be the second time within 3 or 4 years that he's almost like an afterthought, when in his mind he's been the star player for WWE. So I think we should run with that type of attitude for Rollins and go right back into WrestleMania with the same thing and have a mystery opponent. And I know the same thing is going on with Randy Orton, but hey, when it's right, don't fix it, right? So the fact that Seth Rollins already had that happen, I think we should do it again. And I think that his mystery opponent should be no other than Aleister Black. We know that there's rumors that he's re-signed with the company. Well, I think it's official now that he's back. And as I alluded to before, he's definitely like one of my favorite wrestlers. His work down in NXT was impeccable. And just the whole style and the whole swag that he brings to the WWE is unique. It's a different look. And then he has all of the skills to back it up. The interesting thing about me suggesting Aleister Black being a mystery opponent for Seth Rollins at this WrestleMania is, I believe that Aleister Black, his last opponent was Seth Rollins before he left and went to AEW. I think they did the storyline when Seth Rollins was putting people eye out. Like he took Rey Mysterio eye, and then he did something similar with Aleister Black. He pushed his head against the steel steps, like the pointing, the edge part, the pointing part of it. That's almost like a weapon. And even just to touch on that for a minute, I said that before. I think either earlier in this episode or my last episode, I thought that Seth Rollins did some of his best work during the pandemic era with the Monday Night Messiah character. And I love when we can see new things that we haven't seen after all of these years in wrestling. And again, I don't know what they called that, but when he was putting Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black's face against the steel steps and like trying to put their eye out with the edge of the steps, I love new and innovative things, and that was both because we haven't saw that before, and I felt like it was effective. It was very effective. So I believe that's how Aleister Black left the company. So in addition to him being Seth Rollins' mystery opponent in the Worldwide Classic version of WrestleMania 41, I think that that's like perfect long-term storytelling because now he's coming back to the company and kind of picking up where he left off at. And it's been so long in between time that it doesn't feel like it's being recycled. It doesn't feel like a rematch per se. It's been almost 3 or 4 years since we saw Aleister Black in that company. So to revert back to that incident is almost perfect in a way because that's something that you need to come back and handle anyway. When somebody do something like that to you, get back is inevitable. You know what I mean? You got to get your points back. You know, you got to redeem your coupon. You know what I'm saying? In the way that Seth Rollins treated Aleister Black on his way out, I think this would be the perfect storytelling to have Aleister Black return and do something similar to what Cody Rhodes did at WrestleMania 38. And that spoiled the party of Seth Rollins. That's to not embarrass Seth Rollins in the ring because that can't happen. But in the story, it would be embarrassing to Seth Rollins to have this type of thing happen again within 3 or 4 years. And then from people that left the company to go to the competition or to go to AEW, and then they coming back to WWE. I feel like not only, again, is that good long-term storytelling, but I feel like it leaves the door open to how we could get Seth Rollins' character to that next level even after WrestleMania. And what I mean by that is, you know, like I told you guys before, The Shield is one of my favorite groups, if not my favorite group. And the things that they were saying that they stood for was like justice and certain things like that. I feel like if we go this route that I'm mentioning with him and Aleister Black as a mystery opponent, and then he loses to Aleister Black at WrestleMania, I feel like we should use that to make Seth Rollins get to this place where he feel like he needs to not duplicate the Shield, but to go to the next level or the next era of that type of faction. That he needs to get him another faction because in his mind, he could say that he's tired of people leaving the company, coming back, still in the spotlight, because he's kind of already saying it about CM Punk, how people are leaving, but then they want to come back and interrupt all of the hard work that the full-time wrestlers are putting in WWE. So this would tie in perfectly into that whole angle because now he could just really be pissed. And they did kind of go this route during the pandemic when he was doing the Monday Night Messiah character because then he recruited AOP. And then ultimately he had Buddy Matthews join the group, which I thought was perfect at that time. I was a big fan of that group. And we'll dive into that on another episode because I thought that was wasted potential as well. But now we could kind of revisit that. And then now that we're out of the pandemic era and we're back to normal in terms of crowds and everything like that, this would be the perfect time to reintroduce that type of an angle and give Seth Rollins a stable to lead and clean up the WWE per se, because he could say that it's just an infestation of traitors and backstabbers and lazy wrestlers that didn't want to put in the work, that wanted to lead a company and try to do it elsewhere and be a threat to everything that the WWE superstars have built. So in a way, it's almost like their version of the Shield. It's like justice all over again. And I think that would be perfect because Seth Rollins, to me, has always been the best in that type of role. His character is the visionary and the architect. And I think that needs to be more than him just saying the words. him being an architect and a visionary means he's great at putting together great groups, great stables, and he's able to lead these guys. Because again, this was almost some of the same things he was doing with the Monday Night Messiah character when he had AOP. One of my favorite promos from that entire series or run was when he said that AOP will enforce his mark. They will enforce his will, and that he's going to lead the new generation of wrestlers and wrestling fans into the future. And I feel like we need to revisit that, and we need to do that now, because that's the thing. That's what Seth Rollins is missing. He's great by himself. He could do no wrong. But in a group setting, and with him being the leader, I think we get to really see that architect character come to life. We really get to see that visionary come to fruition right in front of our eyes, and we'll get to see certain sides of Seth Rollins that we didn't even see with the Shield, because in the Shield they were all equal. There was 3 equals, but in his group that I'm not gonna say predicting, because I don't know if they're gonna do it, but in my version of what I think should happen, I think that'd be the perfect way to go for Seth Rollins. I think that sky's the limit when it comes to him having that type of role within WWE. So to go back to it, I think that Seth Rollins should have another mystery opponent, and it should be Aleister Black. And then I don't even need to say much about the match. Seth Rollins is one of the best wrestlers in the business, and Aleister Black has always been one of the best to me, but I feel like he hasn't had a chance to really show it. And I think at WrestleMania, I don't think he's ever had a WrestleMania match or a high-profile WrestleMania match. So now we're killing about 2 or 3 birds with one stone, and I think this would just be the perfect way to go. And they might steal the show with this match. I know Aleister Black, he just has a chip on his shoulder, and I know he's got significantly better since he's left the company. And I know it's just killing him on the inside to get back in that ring and show WWE fans what they've been missing since he's been away. So with that being said, that'll be my last match for the Worldwide Classic version of WrestleMania. Hope you guys enjoyed the card. I'm gonna try to run down the list again. I don't think I got my notes with me, but I'll try to run down the list real quick one more time. So we have the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. We have LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre versus Braun Breaker. Then also we have for the tag team championships, and you could pick which one, because to me it just doesn't even matter. Like, I didn't used to agree that it was too many championships, but me doing this fantasy booking, yeah, it's too many championships. So you could pick whatever tag team championship you want, but the competitors that I would insert in that match would be the New Day versus the Street Profits. So that's the tag team championship, New Day versus Street Profits. The next match that I had booked after that was my prime example of a Worldwide Classic, which would have been Penta versus Ilya Dragunov. I feel like that match could potentially steal the show and be an international sensation. Who else did I had? I had in a breath of fresh air, I had Roman Reigns go against Damian Priest. We had also who else did we have? We have Jey Uso going against Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. Who else we had? And then we also had Randy Orton with his mystery opponent. In this instance, I chose Rusev, another returning WWE superstar, somebody I think that'll give Randy Orton the classic that he hasn't had in WrestleMania. And then who else did I have? I had I don't know if we talked about CM Punk and Gunther, so let me get on that. And then for the World Heavyweight Championship, I would have Gunther defend his title against CM Punk. I spoke on that a little bit in the first episode, and I don't think I touched on it much in the actual fantasy booking in episode 2. But, I mean, to me, it's self-explanatory. We know what Gunther brings to the table. We know that he's, a future legend in the business already. He's already accomplished legendary things. And I think that CM Punk is just a wrestler's wrestler. Like, he has the IQ. And the thing that I like about CM Punk is he cares about the business. So he's never just thinking about himself. He's always thinking about what can make the product better long term. And as a Chicago guy myself, I salute the CM Punk. I love seeing Chicago talent in all aspects of life, whether it's wrestling, whether it's basketball, whether it's rap, whether it's acting. Chicago just has some of the most talented people, man, and I'm biased when it comes to Chicago people. I can't help it. Like, this is my city. I love y'all, Chicago, and CM Punk is no different. I would love to see you main event night one the way that you're doing now in the triple threat match, but against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I would love to see you win that match so you can really get the moment that you truly deserve. Because like I said, I don't want to jinx that, man, but we don't know how long a few wrestlers have. I mean, these guys are they're not young men. Like, some of their best years are behind them now. They're still great at what they do in the ring now, but, you know, we just never know. You know, we missed out on CM Punk last year at WrestleMania. So that's the thing that I keep in my mind when I'm saying that I want to book him against Gunther this year for the World Heavyweight Championship. We just never know what the future holds, and I feel like why even waste time or play games? You know what I mean? Then we look up and then, God forbid, you know, something goes on and then he's not even able to compete or at the highest level for the next 2 or 3 WrestleManias. So let's just take care of that bit of business right now. Let's get the title off Gunther to an opponent that's respectable as well. Like, no sense of Gunther dropping the title to, and not Jey Uso, but just anybody else that they would have in mind. Like, there's only a few people that I think would be adequate for Gunther to lose the title to. And CM Punk is definitely that guy. There's no shame in that, because that's just going to push both guys in a positive direction, momentum-wise. And I think that's about it, guys. I think we covered everything. This is what Worldwide Classic is all about. So I hope you guys enjoyed the matches that I put together, and I hope it resonates with you guys as wrestling fans. I appreciate you taking the time with me. I know all of my videos so far has been super long. They've been like an hour for each part. But again, man, I'm really a true fan, and I got more to say. So hopefully you guys will check me out on the next episode. So y'all enjoy WrestleMania. I'm going to go enjoy it. Tonight is night one. So from Worldwide Classics, from Full Time Digital House, I'm Southside Tre. I'll catch y'all later.